All right, where were we? Oh, right, in the hospital. Well, before we get back to that, let me just share with you a special treat. It's early on the hayfield. Sun's about to come up. It's going to be a beautiful day, but it's always a beautiful day down here on the hayfield. This is my time of day. This is my favorite time of day. I love coming down here. I got the boys with me, as usual. Let's see if we can show you the boys. Hey, boys. Come here for a minute. Come here. Come on, let's go this way. Come on. Really are a couple of great puppy dogs. Say hey. Say hey. Who's that? Who's that? And who's that? Who's that? Hi, guys. Is my life great or what? So before we continue the story, I think I need to tell you, or tease you maybe, I need to tease you about one of the onion layers. I've always been, or I always was, pretty active. I actually ran in the New York City Marathon in 1980 for my 18th birthday. And that was quite an adventure. I need to tell you about my Uncle Tommy Simonetti. That's going to be a story for another time. Anyway, in college I ran, not like for the track team or anything. I went to the University of Tennessee, and those boys were phenomenal, still are. But I ran with the track team, with the cross-country team on some training runs. Yeah, those guys were a little bit out of my league. But after I graduated, I continued to run in races and got into triathlons and did some international or Olympic distance triathlons, for those of you know what that means. But then somewhere around the time I turned, I don't know, 40 or so, I kind of got busy with my career, changed jobs, and was traveling a lot, and just kind of wasn't exercising. And that leads us to where we are. That leads us to where we are in the story. And so Dr. Obregon sent me down the road to the emergency room, and I walked in with my printout of my EKG and held that up, and they rushed me in, sat me down, started poking and prodding, and took blood and ran tests and found out that I had elevated troponin levels. Now, if y'all don't know what troponin is, don't feel bad, because neither did I. But troponin is an enzyme that you secrete or produce or whatever when your heart has been injured. And so if you have heart surgery, you'll have elevated troponin levels. Well, I hadn't had heart surgery. Or if you've had some kind of a chest injury, you can have elevated troponin levels, but I had not had any kind of a chest injury. If you've had a heart attack, you can have elevated troponin levels. And I said, okay, so what's normal? 0.05. Well, what's mine? 5.4. Okay, I have elevated troponin levels. I've had a heart attack. So a little bit later, a cardiologist comes in and says, well, you've had a heart attack. And I said, yeah, we pretty much figured that out. I said, what are we going to do about it? And he said, well, tomorrow we're going to go up into your wrist and run a camera up there, take a look around, see what's causing this, and see what we're going to do about it. And I said, okay. And so the next day we did exactly that. They did a procedure, 20-minute procedure. Went up into my wrist, looked around, found some blockage, put in a stent, And that was pretty much that. Now, what's interesting is this procedure has become so commonplace and so routine. They don't even put you out completely for that. It was kind of a little twilight thing. And I woke up, or I kind of started to wake up a little bit during the procedure, and I heard somebody said, "Hey, Glenn, did you see how I made that corner?" And then I went back to sleep. Later I asked the cardiologist, "Did I hear what I thought I heard? Did he say, 'Hey, Glenn, did you see how I made that corner?'" The cardiologist said, "Yeah, that's David. He's quite a character." I was like, okay, at least I wasn't dreaming. So after I asked him if I had heard David making that great turn, I said, "Well, what's next?" And he said, "Well, we fixed the problem." I said, "Okay. So what's next?" He said, "You're done." I said, "I can leave now?" And he said, "Well, we're going to keep you overnight, but yeah, tomorrow you're ready to go." I said, "Okay. Well, what changes do I need to make?" And he said, "Well, you probably need to eat a few less cheeseburgers, and you probably need to get a little more exercise." And I said, "Yeah, that's," to myself, I said to myself, "Yeah, that's kind of the advice that got me here today." Now, let me tell you something that's interesting. I'm not a terrible, or I wasn't prior to the heart attack, a terrible eater. I mean, I prefer good food. I like vegetables, I like meat, I like Oreo cookies. I mean, the basic food groups. But I would drink a Coke a day, maybe two, and I didn't really think too much of it. When I was in the hospital, you ordered from a menu, just like ordering at a restaurant. They had a menu, you'd call a phone number, you tell them what you want. A little bit later, they brought it to you. Well, they had Coca-Colas on the menu in the hospital. And they had cheeseburgers on the menu in the hospital. And, well, since at that point I didn't really know better, well, that's what I got. Post-heart attack, cheeseburger and fries in the hospital. So I told Mrs. Trout, I guess we're going to have to figure this out on our own. I've never been into medical stuff. I've never been into nutrition. That's just not my thing. And so they discharged me from the hospital. 48 hours, $225,000. Thank you so much for good insurance. So they discharged me after 48 hours. And by the way, they checked my weight there in the hospital. And I've got a picture of it somewhere. If I can find it, I'll dig it out, add it. A picture of the board they wrote it on. Something like 232 pounds or something like that. So that was my weight coming out of the hospital, and that was the heaviest I think I ever weighed. All right, so now I got to tell you another story. There's a comedian named Kevin Smith, and he's done a bunch of things. He was in all those Jay and Silent Bob movies. He was in Clerks. He's done a bunch of things. He's directed movies and so on and so forth. Anyway, he had a comedy special, like one of these HBO comedy specials. It was called Kevin Smith, Silent but Deadly. And it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Looks like the boys have spotted something. boys just looked like they were getting ready to go chase the deer. Where's the deer?
Go get the deer.
Oh, there is somebody bow hunting down here today, so I need to be careful. Anyway, Kevin Smith, silent but deadly. Freaking hilarious. Got some rough language. Got some rough comedy, but it's funny. It's really, really funny. So hey, Kevin Smith, if you watch this, send me a royalty for promoting your HBO special. Kevin Smith was once a famously large person. There's a story about him getting kicked off of a Southwest Airlines flight for being too big. Why somebody like Kevin Smith was flying Southwest Airlines, I never quite figured that out, but whatever. So in the Kevin Smith HBO special, he talks about a documentary he saw, and the documentary was narrated by Katie Couric. The documentary is called Fed Up, and I really recommend you give that a watch. In that documentary, they talk about sugar and how sugar is in everything. And so Kevin Smith said, okay, I gotta cut back on sugar. And he went cold turkey and just eliminated sugar from his diet. And he talks about how he woke up one morning and he was all cranky. And he said to his wife, I don't know why I'm so cranky and so agitated. And she said, well, you're missing your best friend, sugar. He goes on to say that first thing he would do in the morning is reach over to the side of his bed and grab a handful of Jelly Bellies, and that was breakfast. So anyway, I remembered from watching that Kevin Smith special 10 years ago that he talked about how he had lost a bunch of weight by cutting out sugar, but I couldn't remember the name of the documentary. So I came home from the hospital. This was on a Wednesday. First thing I did was I rented that documentary. I rented the Kevin Smith special and fast forwarded until I got to the part that talked about the Katie Couric documentary, got the name of the documentary, and then watched the documentary. And I realized, oh my gosh, sugar is the devil. Thanks for hanging out with me for the past 3 episodes. Come back next time to find out, what does Trout do when he finds out sugar's so bad? What lifestyle changes does he make? And what's up with Trout's facial hair? All that and more in episode 4. Hey, I made a rhyme.